I'm Marcy Barron, and this is Mondays with Marcy. I'm your homeward bound guide to everything 5D living. I can't wait to share with you tips and tools to guide your personal transformation so that you can live a life that thrills you. Hello, and welcome to this week's Mondays with Marcy. I am Marcy Barron, your host, and this week we have the very special guest, beautiful woman, a beautiful friend, a mentor, colleague, all the things, Nicole Amaturo-Gross. Welcome to the show.
Aw, I just got chills.
Aw.
Hi.
Hi. So Nicole and I have such an interesting friendship, relationship, and all of the things. We first met, I think, through somebody you met at a networking event, and she came to me for a session, and somehow then she told you about me, and then you came for a session, and then it was like you could tell it. I mean, it was the beginning of like this. We would always help each other and hold space for each other in our healing journey.
Mhm. Lots of inner child work at that time.
Yes.
And you kind of introduced me to the whole energy work and the body work. And like I just said before, I made a joke that like Marcy helped me get out of the bathtub so I can serve my audience.
I love
You'd
that.
be in like the bathtub with essential oils, you remember? And you'd be like, all right,
Yes.
come on, you can get out, you could do this.
Yeah.
And it was when I was running my very first unhealthy love detox. And I was like, who am I? Who am I to like talk to these people? Who am I? Who am I? You know, it was still that wounded little girl inside of me that felt like she just didn't deserve to take up space. And you helped clear a lot of that energy
Mm.
trapped within me. Um,
Wow.
and then then inner child work and
Yeah, and then as Nicole rose in her gifts, then I'm like, Nicole, I need you to help me, and you did, right? So then it would always be this reciprocal place of holding space for each other's healing and friendship, of like catching up on our calls and bouncing ideas off each other, and what's catching up in the personal. And Nicole and I were starting chatting, and I was like, all right, we got to start the tape, because I'm like, this what needs to be recorded. I'm like, so I could feel Nicole is in a transition. I know she's shifting. And then she started to tell me, and I'm like, wait. This
start
is
joking.
what?
You start joking.
Yeah, I was like, no, we need to record this, because we're talking about, as female entrepreneurs, as women who have children and families and all the things, to be able to show up even in our discomfort, to show up when things are evolving and changing, and old essences and energies and identities are dying, literally, and so much pain, don't want to get out of the bathtub. How do we show up anyway? So why don't you tell your story, because your story is amazing, what you were trained in, what you used, what you did, your bravery, and how you, like, can you tell us?
Yeah, so what do you want from like the beginning? From
Yeah,
like
like you were a teacher.
teacher. Okay. So I was a teacher for 10 years and I was married for 16 years and had 3 children. And I was in my literally like what as a little girl when I would play dolls and Barbies, I was in my dream world. You know, that's what I thought. That's what a woman does. That's what a mom does. When I grow up, be a teacher, have a mom, be a mom, and literally like stop and get chicken cutlets on my way home from work and make chicken cutlets and make mashed potatoes and the family dinner. Like that's what, coming from an Italian upbringing, like that is what I thought my biggest dreams were. You know,
Traditional, very traditional.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I was in this life and I didn't want to make freaking chicken cutlets anymore. want to bake anymore. And like, I didn't want to be the person that had no identity and was everything for everybody else.
Mm.
So I started to kind of just feel that I was with the wrong person, that because the person I was with served that old me, you know?
Right.
And as long as I was cooking in the kitchen and serving and being good, we worked, great together. And so anyway, so I started to feel the nudge, and I waited about 5 years before I actually left my marriage because I didn't feel that I could make it on my own. I was scared. I didn't trust myself. What if I got sick and I needed somebody to take care of me? Like, it was like all the old programming. It's like hard for me to
Right.
even go back to that programming and tell
Right.
it. It's
Right.
like,
Because you're so not that person anymore.
yeah, I feel so,
But it really was the first nudge, like, uh-oh, this isn't serving me. And you listen to it. I think it's much more accelerated, obviously, but it took 5 years for you to go, I don't want to be in this marriage and I don't want to be in this job.
yeah. Yeah. So, well, the job thing came a little bit later, but yeah, the marriage thing, I started to feel probably like when we were, it's funny, we were married about 10 years or so. And I remember on Facebook, remember those quizzes you'd get and it'd be like, answer all the questions.
Yeah.
And one of the questions was like, where do you picture yourself in 5 years? And I instinctively, before we were having like any issues, just wrote like divorced. I was like, what?
Wow.
Like, where is that coming from? Like, I want to be divorced. Like, that scared me.
Yeah.
So I finally left my marriage and I chose myself, and I decided that the discomfort of staying the same was greater than the discomfort of leaving and seeing what was in the unknown. Finally got to that point. And I think that's when we get to the point where we make the change.
Yeah.
Like, which discomfort would you rather have? And
That's an amazing. Can we just like stop on that
yeah,
point? Because that's like a real truth bomb. There's
yeah,
discomfort of staying, stagnant in the same mold, and there's discomfort of change.
yeah,
Pick your
yeah.
pick your
It's like you
heart.
pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, so that's when my journey started, and I started to date, and I started to realize that I was attracting like way less than I knew I deserved. And I made sure my physical appearance was going to be what guys would want. I got breast implants. I would get like laser treatments on my face. I had extensions in my hair. Like, I did everything I could do on the outside.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I'm a good catch. I'm a teacher, like, I take care of my 3 kids. I don't need anybody's support or help or whatever. And then I started to attract all the guys that they should have been begging, me for my attention. And instead I was begging for theirs, in a sense.
Right.
And I started to see there was a discrepancy. And that's when I started to work with my own, therapist and spiritual teacher. And I started to learn about this little girl inside of me that didn't feel seen, significant enough, pretty. She still felt like that 5th grade chubby version of her, even though she was the opposite of that. And I just basically attracted exactly what I didn't want. I attracted the energy in which, Marcy, this is like what you teach, the energy that was within my energetic body, my physical
Right.
body, energetic body. And you can't fake that. You can't cover it up with the outside. It
Nope.
doesn't work,
Yeah. It's just
you know,
not even. It's not even known. It's not even a conscious thing until you're aware.
until you finally become aware, and then you
Yeah.
use the outside to see what's going on the inside.
It's a mirror.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's what happened. And I went on this journey and really nurtured the little girl inside of me and got really comfortable and acquainted with her. And the first time we all go back to our inner little girl, it's like this moment of just pure tears because we realize she's actually still with us and we've just forgotten about her for so long, and
Oh,
it's a coming home, to that self. And basically that's what I did. And I did it enough to attract my husband into my life today. And I say I did it enough because it wasn't perfect. And in the relationship, my God, there was more healing than I ever thought possible within myself than when I was single.
Right.
And I think that's a really good point to make, that if you are looking to attract your, your partner, you don't have to be perfect. God, whatever you believe in, the universe, source, will bring you the person that's going to help you evolve. And I think so many of us pass those people by sometimes, thinking that it's almost like you're trying to outsmart the algorithm.
Hmm. Oh, I just got chills with that one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes that's the very medicine we need. So what happened was, it basically made no sense to be with Gary. He was, 11 years younger. He didn't have his job established. He was still living at home. I was like a 35-year-old woman, 3 kids. It made no sense. Nothing about it made any sense. And I tried to not go into it. And I just kept following my heart. And that was the only compass I had, was my heart and how I felt around him. So I just kept letting that lead. And I had to acknowledge my fears, and I had to acknowledge my pulling back, not letting him in, all the things to try to protect myself to not make it work. It's like
Yeah.
I didn't want it to work because it made no sense. So it was like, I don't even want this to happen, kind of a thing.
Right.
Um,
And then it became the lens for you to really look at what's
yeah,
going on within you.
exactly. And it was a huge, I mean, my relationship has been the biggest growth, between my relationship and my business. It's very similar. They're both relationships, has been the biggest catalyst for growth, intimacy, allowing someone in deep, holding longer periods of intimacy,
Mm.
allowing it to
Yeah.
stretch even longer, allowing someone in, and also creating the boundaries within myself of what feels good from like an untraditional sense. It's like I don't have to be like everybody else, and what feels good, you know, it's like, I always make this joke, but it's like even sleeping together in the same room. Like I actually don't like it. Like it's not
It's
fun for me.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's not even that it's uncomfortable. Like when I'm sleeping, I don't want to hear another person snoring. Like I want to sleep in my peaceful setting with my like candle on and like just quiet. Like, and I'm like, well, why do we have to? Like, why does that have to be the traditional? Like, and he's
Well,
like, well, that's
they're
traditional.
saying they say that people that couples have they can have their separate spaces and come into their own space together do better.
Yeah, and Marcy, like I'm not kidding. Like I love, it's like, oh, want to sleep over tonight? Like
Yeah.
it's not that we sleep in separate rooms right now, but
Right.
every once in a while, if he's snoring, he'll sleep on the couch or like, wherever. But like, I'm like, hey, you want to stay tonight? Like, if I think it overall, like, I feel like that should almost be the norm. It's like you have your bedroom, I have my bedroom, and then, hey, want to sleep over? Want to share the bed tonight?
Right.
And
There's a
then,
polarity thing in that. There's an
yeah,
attraction and an excitement
desire,
thing. Yeah.
right?
But see, this is the thing. What you're speaking to in traditional relationships and how it's like, quote, come to be is the traditional way is an outdated model. And
Yes,
I think what people are realizing is that relationships can look and feel and reflect what's unique for and necessary for the people involved. And it doesn't always necessarily mean, like hetero, married couples, like whoever's listening.
yes.
It's like I look at um the holistic psychologist, and she
Mm.
came out as a throuple. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah, the
The
like
three
a couple
women.
with 3 people. Yeah.
Yeah, the couple with three people. And it's like she's married to her life partner of a woman, and they invited another woman into their relationship. And I'm like, good for you. Like,
Yes.
change up this shit of just traditional, you
It
know.
clearly doesn't work. Look at the divorce rate in the country. Like
Oh my God.
the traditional way, is just so, it's honestly like just asinine. Like it makes no
Yeah.
sense. And like you should never be attracted to another human in your whole entire life. Like
Yeah.
to even expect your partner to feel that is setting you up for
Disaster.
disaster.
Yeah,
It's like, of course
that's
there's going
not
to be
normal.
people.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Apparently, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, apparently, um, we live so much longer lifespans, and that traditional model was meant to be like, all right, if I live till 40, you know
He's
what I
good
mean?
enough.
Yeah. And I will say, I was watching the other night. Have you ever seen The Red Tent?
No, but
It,
you told me about it.
okay. Okay. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with this
Yeah.
book and this movie. And the reason why is because I know I've lived this life. Like, I
Mm,
know I've lived this ancient tribal life. It's like, and it keeps calling me. And again, I'm like, I'm watching it again. I watch these stories. I watched like, the Ten Commandments, Ben
yeah.
Hur, Mary Magdalene, this red tent, because this was it. The man had, and again, I'm not a polygamist. I'm not polyamorous. Like,
Yes.
that's not like where I'm drawn to as Marcy Baron in this
Yes, me
life, but
neither.
as like an
Yep.
ancient tribal woman living in the desert. The thing that fascinates me about this red tent is the women come together in the red tent, and it's only the women, and they have babies in there, and they bleed and have their periods in there, and there's like this connection, and it shows the story of Jacob from Torah, Bible, whatever. Again, not religious, but it's like he's got four half sisters, and they have their roles and blah blah blah, and so, and it shows like the jealousy, it shows the support, it just shows all the emotions, and I'm like, it makes sense. Like, they're all raising and the kids and as opposed to being alone and
So
exhausted and depleted.
yes.
My friend came last week, and I'm like, thanks for taking out the garbage. And,
Mhm.
because I don't have a partner right now. So it's like, oh, so it's just,
That's so funny. Sorry, I'm laughing because
uh,
we literally, I was talking to my sister and another friend the other day, and we were making the joke that like she was divorced and the one thing she misses is somebody taking out the garbage.
yeah. Like,
I was like, is that what you miss about a man?
I think acts of service is
Right.
one of my top things, just because now my 18-year-old son, when he's so supportive and loving to me, I'm like, thanks, honey.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
He even picked up my daughter the other night from a late night. I'm like, thanks. A late night. She's 16, but like I
Yeah.
had to pick up. Anyway, but we're going into like our chat. But anyway, so you're in this, you quit your job,
Yeah. So then I
you got
finally quit.
divorced, right? You
Yes.
started this as a life coach, and you're
Yes.
remarried. You're in this incredibly like what new job, new relationship, or new job first, right? And then the relationship came.
No, it was
Oh, it was.
job. I left work while I was with Gary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was all,
It was
let's
all at the
just
same
change
time. Yeah.
everything at
I,
once.
I changed my whole entire life at once. But that's what it was. So it
Amazing.
was a new relationship. And once I started to realize that I was able to attract the love that I, desired, it was, crazy. I said, oh my God, like I need the world to know they can do this. I need the
Mm.
world to be able, I need other women to see that they have power and that they
Ooh.
don't have to accept less than they actually desire. I think the hardest part is admitting our desires,
Ooh.
right? So if I never admitted I desired more in the marriage that I was in, I would still be living that like old traditional Italian freaking boring ass,
Chicken
you know,
cutlet life.
chicken cutlet life.
I just snorted. But yeah,
Um,
but it's like the desire. I love that word. Our
yeah.
desires have become synonymous with something to be ashamed of, to be something
Mm,
of guilty of, to be something to be like shoved down. Mm,
yes. Yes. And
I
the
love
judgment.
it.
So it's
Yeah.
like, those people that were judging the holistic psychologist when she came out like that, there's like, it's nothing about her. It's their own repressed sexuality within themselves that they won't even look at or acknowledge because they've been taught it's bad or good girl syndrome, and it's kind of like, why can't we be, as women, we are a threat to society because we are so powerful. in that sense. So they wanted to keep us small and make us think we weren't allowed to be who we were, because my God, we're able to create life like we could do anything else we want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
It's
so to
changing.
squash that, yeah, it's not the norm anymore. You laugh, but like you see everybody self-express on Instagram with their asses out. It's like, why are we doing that? Right? Because it's kind of like, who said I can't?
Right. Well, the rise
Like,
of the feminine and in her uninhibited, I don't have anything to be ashamed of self is, and I know in me showing, um, my own body in sexual
mhm,
ways triggered a lot of fucking people. And I'm just like, that's not
yes,
my problem. That's your problem. And it is there is the rise of the feminine now. The toxic patriarchal society is crumbling, and it's so great because it has to. We were a feminine based society, and the patriarchy, the
scared the
judgment.
shit out of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you tuned into your desires,
That was the
you
key. That was my compass.
oh, I have the chills. Make your desires your compass.
Yeah.
That's what I love about you, Nicole. You
Yeah.
just always have these amazing truth bombs. So, as now you're in this, so you now have this amazing coaching practice, and I remember you're launching programs and individually working with women. Now you're evolving into a different space and place. And what I love about you is it's hard, it's uncomfortable, but you trust and you get led by your desires. So tell us about that.
Okay, so in this, I did all the things that I launched the programs, like you said. I had, a great following. I started to blog and write for Worthy. And it was, amazing. And then I had my son 3 years ago. And it just started to feel like I was absolutely burnt out from pushing and pushing and pushing and going with the 3 year old at four, or with the infant at the time at 40 years old.
Right.
So I just stopped one day and I said, I followed my heart again, even though it made no sense. And I just followed my heart and I said, I just can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm literally dying inside again. Like I was losing myself.
I remember the conversation. You had this very big Facebook group. You were very active in the Facebook group, and it literally felt like the dread
Mm-hmm.
to even hold all that space for all of these hurting people.
Yes.
I remember. Yeah.
I just was, it's like I didn't have the balance of coming a lot. First of all, where it was coming from within myself, which I'll talk more about, but also just taking care of myself enough. So I got burnt
Mm.
out and I let everything kind of like just go. And I just said, I can't do this anymore. There has to be an easier way. And I said, I know I deserve to be paid just because I'm me, right? Just because I'm me, I deserve to have people come to me. Like I don't need to get clients, you know?
Right.
And that's what I did. I just stopped everything and I just went back to me and I just was present. Like presence was my guiding light at the time. It was during COVID. The whole world shut down. So it was crazy because I decided to stop my business for a bit. The whole world then shut down a month later.
Wow.
And we were
You
all
knew.
in it together. Wild.
Well, you are
So I would just,
psychic.
what'd you say?
You are psychic.
It's like crazy. Like I was like, what in the world is happening?
Yeah.
And I went for walks every day with Nolan, my 2 year old at the time. And we went every day, went for walks. We just listened to the birds and we were present. And I was just present with him and I was cooking again. And I was coming back to that part of myself that I, kind of like let go of in my first marriage in a sense. And I just kept following my heart. I started to dance. I started to do things that were fun. And then all of a sudden clients just started to come to me out of like the woodwork, like nowhere, like just
Right.
from literally falling from the sky.
Right. You
And
become the magnet. You become the essence of who you are attracts people and opportunities and situations. I say that all the time. It's like, how have I written big pieces for US News and World Report, like, and have the reporter reach out to me, right? It's like you
yes,
become the magnet. Hmm.
and you don't have to do,
No.
but we've been trained that we need to do so
Yeah.
much, when really the truth of the matter is that all we really need to do
Is be
is come home to, yeah, ourselves, and allow our truest essence to come back home, and to connect with that, and to allow that, and to just feel the ugly parts of us that feel really uncomfortable, when I say ugly in quotes,
yeah.
and just feel the discomfort of it all. It's all you really need to do. Like I used to think you had to do such deep, 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 deep trauma work,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I've changed a lot, because what I'm starting to see is that really the work is about presencing
Yeah.
the discomfort, the feeling.
You know,
That's really what the work is,
it's so
versus
funny.
this heavy trauma work.
We're so aligned. Like, you and I haven't had a conversation in like a couple, I would like, this is like the longest time I think we've gone.
Yeah.
And I was at I did an event last week, and I said all you have to do is just have curiosity and compassion for where you are in the present moment, and then each now then leads to the next now, and you get to exactly to where you need to, and it is the present moment, because in the present moment you're safe.
Yes. And the other thing about that, Marcy, is that we the goal of trauma work is to help you to feel safe when you've never felt safe. It's like, trauma is when safety was taken away from you, basically, right?
Right.
Even just yourself. But the thing in the matter that I've learned is that safety is an illusion. There is no such thing as safe.
Mm.
There just isn't. When are you actually safe in a world that your life can be taken from you at any moment?
In the
How,
present moment.
just in that very moment.
Right.
Yeah, like you cannot feel safe anywhere else. So to go after safety, I believe you're actually setting yourself up for stagnancy and murkiness,
Mm.
because safety feels very safe. It feels, I can breathe, when you don't have it within your body. So the thing I learned is that it's not about safety itself you go after. It's about learning to hold yourself in the discomfort of feeling unsafe. That's what you need to go after. It's about holding yourself in it. So when you know that you got you, and you can hold yourself in the discomfort of leaving your whole business, and leaving your teaching degree, and going after a whole world that feels very unsafe. And I didn't have this at the time, but now it's like, I'm stretching into a new home right now. So, purchasing a new home after so many years. And it's like, am I going after a smaller home at a smaller price just because it would feel safe? Or do I want to stretch myself and hold myself in the discomfort of going after what actually I desire?
Wow. And you know what? You are an expert in that. Like, you walk that talk. I've seen you do that all the time.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. It's an illusion. It's like, you think about the wound of death itself. Like, we're born into this lifetime, and we have our first death when we become a human, when you think about it like that,
Yeah.
and when we're born. And then it's like, from that point on, you're living each day, and you don't know when your last day is. Like, nobody does.
Yeah.
So, right? So to go
Mhm.
after a feeling of safety when that is the current, it's not going after safety. It's actually getting comfortable with death.
I just had this conversation.
Did you?
Yeah, in my membership group. It's like that's what this whole onlay of COVID is about.
Yes.
Everybody's fear of death has come up, whether it's their own or their loved one. And that's really it.
That
We're
is so key because the more that you accept and feel that you feel it. Like there were times where couldn't get out of bed because I was literally just feeling my death and my mortality and my not knowingness of like when that's going to be. And it's just like the more that you allow yourself to just go there, you get to then experience the fullness of life so
hmm.
much more. You actually learn to live.
Wow.
So then you can let things go that don't serve you anymore. Here's the thing, right? If you're not scared of death, then when you outgrow things, you can let them die,
That's
right?
amazing. Yeah. And I feel like there are so many depths of who I am and where I've been and what I want and stepping
Yes.
into bigger and yeah. Oh my God. And then
Yes.
when you don't take those risks or you don't go to the desires or tune into your authentic self, you're keeping yourself small.
Yes.
And it's like you're trying to, quote, keep yourself safe, but you're still hurting yourself while doing it. You're
You're in discomfort.
right.
You're in pain,
Right.
trying to be safe.
Right. You're protecting yourself from not doing those things, but yet you're feeling them anyway. So yeah.
Absolutely. You're agonizing. It's like it's agony, right? When you don't allow yourself to let selves die, relationships die, jobs die, anything, non attachment, right? Death. When you don't let yourself expand and grow, I always see it as these two murky ponds. It's like there's a pond there, but there's no life in it. It's existing. It's not moving. There's no
Yeah.
current. There's no nothing. And then you picture this like freshwater pond with all these fish, swimming happy and, the water's moving and there's life. It's like, which pond do you want to live in? Yeah, we can go after safety if that's what you want, but it's all an illusion. It's going after, how do I hold myself in the discomfort of not feeling safe? When you can do that, you go after whatever it is that you want in life, and you realize there's a greater force than you can even see or know that is guiding the whole thing. And you start to allow that more and more in and tap into that when you feel unsafe, and it will hold you.
Oh my God, I love that. I always just get such chills and like you're just always with the truth bomb. So tell me and tell all of us, like, how are you in this new birth and always going into the freshwater pond? Tell me and everyone what you're doing now and how are you serving? Like, what, tell the audience, because I love when people hear or watch the podcast, they're like, "Oh, I want to work with her. Oh, this is my next." So who's the ideal person that you're attracting and that you are feeling that you best serve in what you're doing?
I love that question. So I would say that the person that is going to be attracted to me and I would love to serve would be somebody that has a desire, and it's, they're feeling it in their pit of their stomach and their heart, and they're not going after it. And whether that's in love or their business, it's the person that doesn't want to play small anymore and is ready to hold themselves.
Right.
So
It's exactly your story, right?
my
Because
story,
that's who we serve the best.
can you hold yourself as I hold you? That's the thing. I don't want to hold you anymore. Before I felt like I was almost like this cheerleader for my clients, in a sense of like, I'll hold you, it'll be okay. Where like, I'm not going to hold you. You're going to hold you, and I'm going to show you how. And I'm going to put you are going to be in your power, and you're not going to need me.
Mm.
You
And
know,
that's the biggest, that's exactly it.
yeah, you are your healer. You are your greatest teacher. You have all the answers within you. Can you hold yourself? If you can hold yourself and allow me to guide you, then I'm the person you want to work with.
Oh, I love that. Right. We're done with codependence in all
Exactly.
relationships.
Crazy how it just all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this just doesn't work for me anymore.
And you're doing this incredible event with your sister in
Yes.
person on the Jersey Shore. Tell everybody about this. I love this.
Yeah. So what we're doing is basically it's like networking,
Hmm.
meeting, personal development, and fun. So movement, lots of personal development about how your business is a relationship, and it will bring out your deepest core wounds,
Yep.
and how you meet them will be basically how you allow prosperity and opportunities and everything else in your life, and how you'll just become a magnet for it all. So the more you, like what we talked about, the more you meet yourself in all of your wounds and in your discomfort and all the things, the more you create an opening for things to just magnetically kind of land along your path of desire. That's the way I see it. It's like you follow your path of desire, you keep following your heart, you keep opening yourself up, you keep sitting with the discomfort. Miracles happen. That's a miracle realm. You don't have to do. So that's teaching these women in business that they don't have to do the way that they used to think they do. And really what the work is within.
Yeah.
And
You are, you're right. Yeah, it's so
that's
true.
it. And it's the same thing with love.
Mm.
The more you meet yourself, literally meet yourself, like not just like meet the discomfort, literally like meet yourself, who you truly are, and have fun with yourself and see yourself as that queen that you truly are and the power that you have. You don't just let any man in. It's like, no, instead of saying, does he like me? It's like, do I like him? Does this feel good for me?
That's a whole different come to place for many women that don't
Yes.
see it. Amazing.
So yeah, so that's what this business.
Tell us when it is, and tell us how it is. When is it, the
Well,
event?
this Thursday at 6 p.m. in Long Branch, New
Oh,
Jersey.
oh, this is gonna
But
premiere.
the next one,
Okay, yeah, the
yeah.
next one.
Well,
So that just sounds exciting. They can get on your waiting list for that.
yes,
When's the
yes,
next one gonna launch?
definitely.
So,
In person.
yeah, exactly. Because it's like it's all waiting in escrow. It's all waiting,
Yes, I love that.
right? That's how I feel too. It's like for me, I like set the signature, like even like with my retreats, right? I create a container of what it is, and my one in June is about miracles, magic, and joy.
I love that.
And then I fully embody it. I'm like, okay, this is the energy. This is how we're gonna. Where are my playful? The people who have lost their play and want to play, and all of that, and I like call them in with my heart. It's like, of course, I have to send it out and blah blah blah, and eventually someone goes, oh, and I know every time I level up and do my own and hold myself, it's like, oh, it just the flood work opens. As you said, the business is the hugest, one of the biggest ways to heal.
Oh
It's the
my God.
fast track.
Like, you're so right when you said that fast track. Like, it's like nothing I've ever experienced before in my life, like anything, because all it is a mirror. Like, it literally is, because it is a relationship, it is a mirror.
Yeah, it's like, how do I show up? And um, even like I said, like launching this podcast for me took a long time because it didn't feel safe for me to be seen and heard. And I'm like, okay, I cleared that, launched the podcast. Now I'm doing these short form videos, and people are like really loving them. Like there's little bits of information, and I'm like, you know, okay, it feels okay. Whereas before I was like, nah. And now I'm like, ooh, like I
Yeah, it's like you
know.
got your life force back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I did like as I was approaching my birthday, like I had a major reset. Like I had symptoms, I had congestion. My brain was congested, so it showed up in my sinuses, and I had to take a step back, and I had to receive, and I had to go in, and I was like, okay. Like I wasn't in panic mode. I'm like, all right, I don't, you'll appreciate this. I deleted all my social media apps and I had all of these drafts in TikTok and they all got deleted.
Shut up. That is
All of the
so
filming,
annoying.
but again, I'm like, I guess that old energy didn't
Had
need to
to
come
go.
forward. I had to trust. I had like literally 20, like I did like a major filming one day. Yep. I was doing things and then I was like, I don't feel well. I don't even want to look. It's draining my energy.
Talk about death, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, fuck it. Okay. Like again, I'm like, that's what the universe wanted. That old energy, like this. I see symptoms, these things where we can label them as it's like not good. Our ego wants to label it. I see it as the universe pulling us back in like a back bow, like a bow, and like gaining momentum. And then it's like the arrow shot forward. And that's what happened for me after the cold. I was like, oh, okay. Universe didn't want all of that recording. My ego was like, shit. And I'm like, nope. All those
Because you're putting it out there. What you're putting out there is just really your energy.
right.
So it may look like it's coming across through like a TikTok video or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the universe was like telling you, like, nope, we're gonna put out your new energy. Like
Right.
we're gonna supply to that, and we're
Right.
gonna we're gonna catapult you ahead.
Right. And that was it. It's like I had to see that, when you're in the trees and you're in your trauma and you're like, "Oh my," or like your person and you're like, "Oh my God, that was so much time." It's like, guess what? That was practice. You're not going
Mm.
back there. The universe went, mm-mm, nope. That all got lost for a reason. So you can be in this higher frequency. The ideas that I just took a walk. I got the sickest download for something that I was like, this is amazing. And then I got an idea for a collaboration with someone to make it happen
Yeah,
out east
yeah.
in Montauk. I was like, this is the and then she was like, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I'm just like, that's how I let it move through me. I like let the inspiration come through, and if it doesn't excite me, if it doesn't make me like if it because I'm done being drained too. Like, right, we're done doing that. So tell
Yes.
what's your last piece that you want to end on, and then tell everybody, and I'll put it in the show notes. But like, what's your parting thought, Nicole? Like, what is it that if you could say in one sentence,
Hmm.
your parting thought?
Yeah. So what just came to me is that there's nothing wrong with you.
Hmm.
I think that the universal wound that we all feel is that there's just something wrong with us. We're different than everybody else, you know? Like we're
Yeah.
not meant to have what everybody else has. I think we all share that same wound. And when you realize that there's nothing wrong with you, you open yourself up to like the very things that really actually want to come to you.
Hmm.
And you just being you is actually what the world needs and wants.
Wow.
And that's it. In all of your form.
Right. You clear that shame. You're exactly what's needed, exactly as you are in your authentic self. And then you become the magnet because
That's it.
you are the medicine.
It's true. Like, even in my, I want to say like rough around the edges approach sometimes to things, or it's like that's me. That's part of me. And to hide that, because I felt like for a long time I wanted to hide pieces of me because it wasn't safe to be those pieces, in my childhood and stuff. And it's as I come home to that, I realize that's the very thing people love me for, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like, yeah. So the thing you think you need to hide about yourself right now, whatever that is that you've been told was not good about you, is actually one of your greatest gifts when you can harness the power from it.
Let's take a breath on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Whew. How can everybody reach you? What's the best way?
So right now I've been having fun just more on Instagram. I'm not a huge social media person, but I'm getting better.
Do you have a website still?
Yeah, it's NicoleAmaturo.com is my website. And on Instagram, NicoleAmaturo-Gross.com.
I'll link it in the show notes so everybody can find you.
Yeah, so that, did I say NicoleAmaturo-Gross.com for Instagram? But you know what I mean.
Yeah, Nicole Amaturo-Gross on Instagram,
Yeah,
at Nicole
yeah,
Amaturo-Gross on Instagram, and NicoleAmaturo.com for
yeah.
your website.
Yep.
Thank you, Nick. If
Thank you.
anybody listening knows somebody who would benefit from this podcast, please forward to them. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. That's it for this week's episode of Mondays with Marcy. Be sure to subscribe to my newsletter at marcybaronclears.com. I also would love for you to follow me on your favorite podcasting app so that you don't miss a single episode. I'm Marcy Baron, and thanks for listening. I am so grateful you are here.